Boom. All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we're exploring the intersection of AI marketing and entrepreneurship. Very exciting topic because it's just cutting edge. It's just where we're at in the world. So let's get this one started. Here we go.
Shut up and sit down.
Look, a business can give you everything you want in life: prestige, wealth, freedom. It can also take everything away from you. This show is for those who are willing to take that risk. These are the real life stories of entrepreneurs. But before we start, I have one small favor to ask. Please leave a comment. It can be advice, critiques, tips, feedback, or share this with someone because your engagement is the most valuable and most powerful form of social currency. So thank you, and welcome to another episode of Business Bros. All right, business bros. Today we're diving deep into the world of advertising with a true expert who's transformed the landscape of media buying. He's not only an esteemed Forbes Business Council and a Fast Company executive board member, but also a proud father, a dedicated sports fan, and a pioneer of precision advertising. So get ready to ignite your brand and insight with the CEO from Brill Media, Mr. Robert Brill. All right,
that's
Robert.
an intro.
Yeah, man. Welcome to the program.
I love it. So high energy.
That's what it's all about, dude. You got to have fun doing what you do. Otherwise, why do it at all? All
That's right. I love it.
All right, let's jump into this. I know I mentioned it in your intro, but everyone who comes on the show is here to promote something. There's something that you do for a living. If you can explain it so entrepreneurs can easily understand, what is it that you do?
Yeah. So we run ads for companies to grow their companies. A lot of our clients are going to be agencies who trust us to run ads for them and their clients. When we talk about advertising, it's when you're specifically spending money on a Facebook or a Google, Hulu, etc., to amplify a message to grow your business. And so what we do is we run those investments and we help clients generate leads and sales.
And now you're an agency who essentially can help agencies as
Yeah.
well, not just the direct to like a B2B type thing. I was going to say direct to consumer, but the business is actually the consumer in this case.
Right.
How did you get into this space? What got you into paid media?
Yeah. So I started in advertising 20 years ago, worked at Universal Music and then Universal McCann. And for the last 20 years, I've worked on the agency side. And so in 2013, I decided to go out on my own and start my own agency. And that's what I've been doing for the last decade. And, we have a great team, and, it's people who are really passionate about this work and who dedicate their professional lives to being experts in this field.
There are a number of people who want to get into the paid ad space. They want to do something along the same lines as what you're doing now, but they feel like maybe the market is saturated, or maybe like there's too much competition. Take me back to when you first got started and give me kind of a synopsis of where the market is today compared to 10 years ago when you first got into the space.
Yeah, I mean, 10 years ago, there were still tools, but the market's evolved in dramatic ways. Like the most interesting thing 10 years ago was the thing to become effective with your advertising campaign. So you start to see the ability to run ads on like Facebook, for example, a few years earlier. What I think is much more interesting now is that there's a lot of coaching, a lot of learning that you can do, whether it's through YouTube or you learn it through paying someone to give you some insight. But fundamentally, like I just paid some money to listen to a company talk about how they do creative testing. And we've been really focused on creative testing for the last 4 or 5 years. And so I'm constantly learning how other companies are doing, and I want to become better at it. And like, I realize what they're talking about is so incredibly valuable, because like any company, any person just starting out can learn about their product market fit just by doing a little bit of creative testing on Meta to understand the problems that you solve for your customers. So anyone starting out, you really have to understand how do you solve the pain points for your customers, and how do you solve for challenges they don't even realize they have. What's in their heart and soul, the problem that they're facing. Usually you want in your intro, you mentioned prestige. There's financial benefit. There's living a lifestyle that you want to live. It's being a member, a renowned member of the community, scaling your vision. Most people are trying to build some version of those elements. So as a business owner, whatever you're selling, you want to find the thing that you're solving for and then talk to the pain points. Whether you're starting out, or I've been doing this for a decade now with my business, and I'm still doing that. Like, I'm running ads right now that identify the pain points for our customers, and I'm looking for the elements of the ads that are really resonant among my customers, so I can build landing pages with that information.
Now we've crossed the AI threshold, and there are so many people who feel like this is a great tool. And I feel for marketers, it especially helps with things like identifying what these problems are and coming up with some creative ad copy to help basically run their entire campaigns, whether it's on the front end, on the attention side, or on the back end, on the follow-up. AI has been such a useful tool. Where do you see AI going? Because now I see it integrated in my email. AI is integrated into Ads Manager, for example. It's all built in. Where do you see the future of it going when it comes to marketing?
So Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, has a private WhatsApp chat group where him and his other venture capital and really smart, powerful individuals, they're taking bets on when we'll see the first company, the first billion-dollar company created by one person that's powered by AI. From my perspective, that's an inevitability. So that tells you how high the bar is for what AI can do. Like use cases, you can be a lawyer and you can have 50 different AIs that are focused on different types of law. Then you still have to curate the information that comes through it, because you're ultimately liable and responsible for the actions you take on that. But fundamentally, it's an accelerator. It gives you the ability to work like 10 people instead of just one person. So what I use AI for is, I'll tell it to act like a market researcher and tell me in your own words with I need and I wish, tell me the problems I have, or the problems I wish I could solve as a marketing agency owner. And that's a good way to understand the challenges that your customers face. So, we use AI for copywriting because, we like to hang out with insanely talented people, and we do from the perspective of creativity. Like, our clients are creative agencies a lot of times, but we're not the creative agency. So when we have to do stuff for ourselves, we go to AI and we say, hey, even though we're not creative experts, what can you do? And it pumps out really great content, and that content turns into ads, and we even use it for some of our client work, and turns out better, like lower cost per click ads for Google search, for example, and higher click-through rate ads for Google search. So whatever you could, like, OpenAI has a chat assistant, like you could just talk to it. So therapy is expensive. Talk to the GPT. Talk to the GPT.
And again, bunch of useful tools that AI has been going in. I haven't really thought about the therapy one, but you're absolutely right. It will give you some responses and act like a therapist, given the proper prompting. And not just that, though. I've seen all kinds of cool stuff. Things like creating music, using AI to create music, using AI to create visuals, whether it's video or on just like a straight photo stuff. I mean, all of it customized to help clip content and create B-roll. All these different tools, and I think that's a pretty good bet. Like, to figure out when's that first person going to make $1 billion without having to hire a team to do that. However, there's still things that we can learn to help implement a lot of those processes. And you're one of those Forbes Business Council people. What are some of the core things that you believe entrepreneurs should consider when getting into a marketing space or marketing their own businesses?
Yeah, so there's a great editing tool called Reshare Video, or it's a posting tool where you can grab TikTok videos and put it elsewhere. It's called resharevideo.com. But fundamentally, you got to be a tech tinkerer. You got to play with things. There's a tool called HeyGen, HeyGen.ai, where you can film video and then type up a script, and it will use AI to mimic your movements and to move the shape of your mouth to deliver those words. I think you've got to be a tech tinker. If you're a leader of a company, incentivize your team to come up with ideas on how to use AI for their business, right? So another agency owner that I know, he basically, we have a meeting he does this, we don't, where they have a meeting every quarter, and everyone has to present like new AI tools that they've been using inside the business, and if it works, they amplify it, they roll it out across the business. We have professional seats on Chat GPT, and I know my team is using other tools. So I think you've got to be a tech tinkerer. Understand, like, the challenge right now, if for anyone that's paying attention for tech, there's so many of these tools that are available. It's hard to like curate which ones are good and which ones aren't. So I start to pay attention to, there's an endless amount of tools that I see on TikTok. So I have a Notion doc where I keep track of all these tools, and when I want time to play around with it, I will. I also pay attention to thought leaders, and I put those tools that they recommend at the head of the line. So I think at the end of the day, just like with anything, I think when you hear it more than once, you got to start paying attention to it. For a while there, I had a rule where if I heard something 3 times in like 3 different places, that's when I knew I had to start paying attention to stuff. But tech tinkerer to me, I think, is the best like way to think about it.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's the action taking. Not all the tools that you play with are going to be very good. Not all of them are going to be very user friendly, even if they are good. Some of them might be time consuming. I mean, there's a lot of different issues, but unless you get in there and play with them, you're just not going to know. Now, earlier you mentioned that you were going and listening to and learning different ways to test creatives. And I'm wondering, you've been in this space for quite some time when it comes to testing creatives. What do you think is the most effective advertising strategy today to test those things? Because, I help people with ads a lot. And even though I give them my 2 cents, at the end of the day, my real answer is the market's going to tell you whether it's good or not. What's the strategy that you use in your agency or advise to kind of maximize that testing and minimize the time frame that it takes to figure out if you got a winner or not?
Yeah. So we're constantly testing. So the process, so it starts with Meta, and then you roll out the best results outside of platforms, like you push it out to LinkedIn and Google and whatever the case is. So there's a 3-step process. Number 1, you create 5 ads per month. That's it. You're not going to even spend on all those 5 ads. You're going to just create them. You're going to disassemble all those elements, and you're going to have 5 headlines, 5 images or video, and 5 primary texts. You're going to take each one of those elements and run them as a control and variable test across Meta using an awareness campaign. And you're going to run ads for about 2,000 impressions per tactic. So let me take a step back. Those 5 ads that you've created, when you disassemble all the elements, you're going to have 125 possible ad variations. Like headline 1 with image 1, headline 1 with image 2, headline 1 with image 3, etc. So you have 125 ads. You're not going to run all 125. You're going to use science, control and variable testing, to identify the elements that are the most effective. So after about a day and about $100, you're going to know out of the 125 variations, you're going to have the top 20. And when you're done with the top 20, you take the elements that are left, like the 2 headlines, the 1 image, and let's say 2 primary texts. You're going to turn those all on, either the lead objective or a sales objective, optimized as dynamic creative. And over the course of maybe the next 2 to 3 weeks, Meta is going to tell you which one post ID out of all the different variations that you have in the dynamic creative is going to turn into the one ad that is the most effective, the one that generates the most sales or leads that you need. That one ad is your all-star ad. And what you're doing is you're training Meta's machine learning algorithm to find your best customers. Paired with that is the targeting. Your targeting is going to be broad. All you're doing is you're targeting age, gender, and location, because you want to give Meta as much opportunity to find your customers as possible. It gets a little convoluted, but at the end of the day, with this creative testing framework, you're understanding which products, services, offers, and discounts are the most effective for your business. So that way, like if you have 5 products that you're selling and one really gets the most sales, this creative testing framework will demonstrate which is the most effective for you. We have a free training where we go into a 13-minute video going into all the detail about this. It's at grow.brillmedia.co/creative. And that training will tell you exactly how to deploy it this week for your clients.
That's brillmedia.co/grow
/creative.
slash creative slash
So,
creative.
so grow.brillmedia.co/creative. It rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let me ask you about, so first of all, for somebody who's never been in that space, maybe they've been advertising traditionally, maybe they've done a Facebook ad here and there, like a boost or something, and they really want to get into this space, but maybe they just don't have that knowledge. Can you explain what white labeling is, and what are the challenges and advantages to using a white label, kind of like what you guys do, to help build or scale their business?
Yeah. So white labeling is when you sell the work and then you have someone else do the work. That's all that means. So we have a lot of agencies who sell in advertising and they don't do the advertising. We do it for them. So
And that makes it easy.
And that makes it a lot easier. They're usually good at press or PR. They're usually good at general strategy. They're good at developing creative, like they film commercials, or they know how to take photography really well, or they know how to develop websites. But ad buying is such a different type of work. Clients are always asking for it because that's the most practical way to reach people at scale. But they don't know how to deploy it effectively. So they come to us, we run millions of dollars of advertising for them, and they make money on top of our work.
Now, I've always been taught that there's kind of a process to the whole idea of paid ads. Most people don't buy directly on paid ads unless you sound like a direct product or something. For the services side, you're trying to set an appointment or something like that. So the intent for the paid ad oftentimes is not necessarily to make the sale, even though that would be great. Oftentimes the conversion has to do with getting an appointment booked or collecting some sort of data. When you explain some of this process to clients, because there is it's not always a direct dollar return for the advertising spent, but you might have other conversion factors. How do you kind of make that as simple as possible to clients who may not speak advertising?
Yeah, I mean, we advise our clients to think about what keeps their accounting team busy. A lot of clients think that they need likes and comments and shares and clicks, but you can't pay the bills with any of those things. You need actual money to come in. So we try to very much simplify the process, right? Like if you need leads for your business, then like on Meta, we're going to optimize the campaign to leads. If you need leads for your business, we'll run ads on LinkedIn optimized to leads. So, we're going, it's a very linear process in many respects. Like do the thing that's going to get you the most business and throw everything else out to the wayside, right? If you're like a movie studio, sometimes we open movies, there's no direct sale there. So their metric there is going to be video views. But for most businesses, you need to constantly run ads. You need to measure how much money you're spending, how many leads or how many sales you're getting as a result of those ads. And there's ways to do that. One way is to look at tracking based on the pixel data, the piece of code that connects like Meta to the website. We're agnostic, by the way. We're not specifically here to sell Meta, but between Meta and Google, 47.7% of all digital ad spend in 2024 will be delivered on those two platforms. So it's a those two are very important platforms. But to drive success with advertising, here are the kind of like following things you need. Number one, you need a strategy. The strategy helps you understand what you're trying to achieve. If you don't have a strategy, then you're going to do things. You're never really going to know if it's successful. You don't have the right way of measuring success for your business, and you kind of just waste money. It's a guide to how you invest your advertising and the decisions you make along the way. It's like a navigation plan. Like if I'm going from Los Angeles to New York, like do I fly? Do I drive? Do I take the train? These are all decisions that need to be made that get me to that end point. The next thing you need is to understand that brand is very important. And this is oddly very controversial in our space because there's a lot of marketers who just believe you run money, you spend $100, you should get $200 or $300 or $500 back, whatever the number is. But the reason that's possible It's because people understand what your business stands for, what the brand is. The brand is the thing that people think about when they associate words and adjectives about your business. What do you stand for? Is it good? Is it bad? What is it? So, and the example of this is like, there are manufacturers in China who manufacture things all the time that get then sold on Amazon, but they get sold under a different name because someone else is selling it. So it's really difficult for those manufacturers in China to come to the US and just sell the same exact products at the same exact price because no one knows what they are, who they are. There's no brand associated with it. So usually when people buy stuff, they buy it because there's some awareness of the business and some awareness of what the business stands for. And once you have that in place, you can really start to expect people to buy. The last thing to consider is, we're all of us are leaving little bits of data about ourselves and our interests wherever we go. When we take our phone to the gym or to Walmart or to the supermarket or to Dodger Stadium, whatever we're doing, the phone is tracking where we go in the physical world. Our web searches are being tracked. Our credit score is being tracked. The purchases we make on our credit cards are being tracked. They paint a picture of the type of person you are. Do you live in the country or do you live in the city? Do you like eating hamburgers or pizza? Do you watch Netflix or Hulu? So as a business, what we want to do is understand the most direct path between the buyer and the data that person is leaving behind. And the prime example there is flower shops. It's really easy to know when someone wants flowers. They go to Google, they type in flower shops near me. So if you're a flower shop, your ad should be next to the search that says flower shops near me. But for a lot of businesses, it's not that direct. And that's why marketing becomes far more complicated.
Yeah. And the thing about it is you can spend as little as like $5 a day, and there's no limit on the upside. When it comes to kind of putting a budget together for your marketing, where do we start? Like, where do we start? Where should we be shooting for? What's kind of a good idea for like an ad budget? And if people want to reach out and kind of work with you, what does that look like for you?
Yeah. So minimum cost to work with us is $1,500 a month, but the way it breaks out is $1,000 goes to the ad spend and $500 comes to us for management. The question is, should you advertise? And the answer to should you advertise is yes, if you have a message that has been proven to sell something. Because you want to what you're doing with advertising is you're amplifying a message in a way that with the goal of getting people to buy stuff from you. So if you haven't been able to sell stuff in other ways, then you're amplifying a message that there's no proof that it actually will work to get people to buy stuff. So at that stage, if you can't get people to buy stuff from you, you don't have product market fit. And product market fit is that thing when you have something that people don't want or you don't know how to talk about it. In Los Angeles, for example, you don't see any Caribbean fast food restaurants. Why? Probably because people tried and no one wants to eat Caribbean fast food. Sounds good to me. I'd eat it. But generally speaking, there's no taste for it. So there's a business. If you go into the business of Caribbean fast food in Los Angeles, you have a product, but no demand, no market for it. For most companies, it's not that dire. It's more like you don't know how to talk about it. You don't know how to price it. Maybe you think if you're selling like X-ray systems to hospitals, that could be a 3-year sales cycle. You just might not know that. And you stop following up at 18 months, you're never going to sell because it takes 3 years to sell. So it's these types of calibration points that help businesses understand if they sell. So if you have the ability to sell, that's when you start to advertise. Now, the caveat to that is if you don't have product market fit, you can use advertising to achieve product market fit, but you have to be aware that that's what you're doing, which means you stop looking for sales and you start looking for insights, and you're constantly testing. The difference there is the expectation going back to the strategy, which is going to align with your key performance indicator. If I've never sold anything for my business, or I don't have a way of repeating sales routinely, then chances are advertising won't work. But you could use advertising to find what works over time. So when should you advertise? When you can stand to lose $1,500 a month and not worry about it, because you know you're giving yourself some runway to learn things. If like that $1,500 for you is like either that or you pay your mortgage, definitely don't advertise.
Yeah.
Right. But I will say that's like the worst case scenario. For businesses that have product market fit, they have what people want. I mean, the sky's the limit. Our average is going to be like $5,000 to $10,000 on campaigns that we manage, but some of them go as high as $500,000 a month.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you're using a company like yours who's actively testing a bunch of different creatives, a bunch of different headlines, a bunch of different primary text until you figure out what works. Once you have the one that works, at that point, it's not really costing you anything because you're getting that return that you're looking for. At that point, it's like, how much more would you like to place in these ads to get more reach? You're probably going to run into issues more on the internal. Like, I don't have enough salespeople for that.
Right.
But again, that's the dream, right? That's the goal. That's the intention of what we do. So if people want to reach out to you, they want to find out more about white labeling, they want to find out more about advertising, how can they do that?
Yeah, brillmedia.co, hit the start now button and have a conversation with me. If you fill out the form, you'll be prompted to set a call and you and I can get on the call. We also do consulting work, and you can get the free creative testing guide, grow.brillmedia.co/creative. It rolls off the tongue.
Love it. Love it. Robert, thank you very much for coming on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, look, you're in business and you want to grow. The number one way you're going to do that is to get more clients. Start building that database. Start getting your awareness out of a company that you exist, that you're actually out in the world and you're ready to take on new clients. And it's not the easiest thing in the world to do on your own. So you're going to want to have a team. Make sure you guys check it out. Brillmedia.co, brillmedia.co. Set up that appointment with Robert and have a conversation one-on-one. He'll show you how he can customize something specifically for you. Robert, thank you very much for being on the program. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace. And we're out.
It's over. Go home.
Is your business in need of marketing? Try starting a podcast. But not just any podcast. Podcast like a pro. We can show you how to take your business from being invisible to becoming a brand people trust. Go to www.businessbros.biz to get started today.